One.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for coming in today.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. I'd like to first start by introducing myself and let me know what my role is. My name is Laura, and I'm a social worker assigned to you here at Project Rebound. Before we get started, I'd like to let you know that what we discuss is completely confidential. The only exception to this is if you tell me that you intend to hurt yourself or someone else, then I do need to let somebody know.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
It totally makes sense, yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions before we begin?
The only question I have is you were talking about confidentiality, and
Yes.
does that mean that if I talk about the time when I was in prison, you won't tell anybody about that?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
I won't be telling anyone about that.
Okay, that's the only question I have.
Okay, perfect. Since this is our first session, I'd like to get to know you a little better and ask you a few questions. Will that work for you?
Of course.
Okay. Great. Can you please give me a little bit of your background and how you came to Iowa State?
Okay, well, I came to Iowa State. As I mentioned to you, I was in prison 4 or 5 years, and then while I was in prison, I got my AA degree.
Wow.
And so about a year before I was released, I heard about this project. It was called Project Rebound, so I applied, and I was accepted. And so here I am today, and I want to get some assistance in terms of getting my bachelor's degree here at Iowa State.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That takes a lot of perseverance.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. I understand that you're having some trouble fitting in and acclimating to the university life. Can you please tell me a little bit more about the struggles you're encountering?
Well, the main thing is I'm from Southern California, and the people here in Iowa State, they eat different food than I do, and everybody looks differently, talks differently. There's a little bit of a language difference, and they act differently. I just don't fit in. I can't relate to anybody. There's a lot of cultural differences. Like when we go out, they like to do different things, and the music's different. So I just can't relate to them at all.
Yeah. It sounds like you're having a hard time adjusting and not able to relate. Not to minimize your experience, but I can tell you that your experience sounds very normal. I've spoken to a lot of other students, and they feel similarly to you. And I just want you to know that you're not alone.
Oh, so I'm not alone? I'm not the only person who feels like this?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I felt like I was the only person who didn't fit in here at Iowa State.
Yeah, I can imagine how that could feel that way. Yeah. I heard you in group the other day, and you seem to flourish there. You were giving wonderful feedback, and it sounds like your peers really respect and admire you.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, so I feel like you were able to relate with your peers there.
That's interesting, because I feel like I don't, but I guess that somebody else can see from the outside what I can't see, because I can only see from the inside, you know.
Right, you're speaking just from your perspective.
Right.
And how you're feeling and what you're seeing.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think that you can use some of those skills in group and take them out to the rest of the university?
Yes, so since you identified some of those things in group, and one of the things were to use tools to get to know people and be more social. I do like to exercise, and I love to swim, so maybe I could find people who work out, swim and stuff like that. I'm not a competitive swimmer anymore, but I could definitely go work out with some of the people. I mean, that's something that I would have in common with other people.
Absolutely, common ground.
Yeah.
So I also heard that you had mentioned another concern, which was that you were drinking a little bit more than you liked.
Well, I mean, I drink, but I guess I did say that I drink a little bit more than I like, but then again, it makes me feel good. I mean, it helps me cope with my loneliness, and it calms me down before I get anxious before a test, and it helps me think more clearly. At least I think it does.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that it helps you. So so on one hand, it helps calm your nerves and helps kind of clear your head sometimes, but maybe it's not the healthiest way to cope with stress.
Yeah, I guess there could be other ways, I read some things about alcohol and how it's not good for a person's body, and I just mentioned that it helps me think clearly, and then I said I guess, and I hear about drinking and driving, and if I want something from the store, I can't walk.
Right.
So, you make a really good point that I do have this conflict within myself, and so yes, you're right. Yeah. I guess I'm just having an external argument with myself.
Yeah, and so you mentioned earlier you like to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that perhaps swimming would be a better way to cope with the stress?
Yeah, it would take up my time, and exercise would help me cope with that stress, most definitely.
Great, great. So I'd like to set some goals during our next session, since we're just about to wrap up our time together today. What do you think about meeting at the same time next week? Will that work for you?
Okay, yeah, I pretty much have the same schedule every week, so I think the next week at the same time would work perfectly.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I think you're doing awesome, and I really commend you for coming in and speaking with me today. I know that could be a little bit nerve-wracking, and I want you to, get the most out of our time together.
Definitely.
So I'm really looking forward to next week, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
I certainly will, and thank you so much for talking to me.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.